Well, good day to you. It is December the 14th, and I hope wherever you are, you're having a great day. My name is Gary Willing, and as always, I want to welcome you to Search for Signs, and also wish you a really good day. But as I always like to do, just kind of point out to those people who haven't heard these videos very often or very much, don't know much about this information, and want to know more. And if that's you, the best thing to do is to do your own investigation and your own research. I've included links that take you to websites that have really good information about this, what I talk about Maitreya, about the priorities of Maitreya and so forth. And they're all right there for you whenever you want to look into it, and they're all free. Okay, I definitely recommend the Share International site to go to first, especially if you don't know anything about this information, because you can get the best background information there than you can anywhere else. If you want to come back and join the discussion, post a comment. Let me know what you think. You can also post a question in the comment section and or email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. All right, so let's start with Miss Poppy. Criticism is hate, a compliment is love. Blessings. Well, you're so kind for that. And only a kind-hearted person would say something that nice. But the one thing that I wanted to point out about criticism, of course, we're all guilty of it, right? I am too. I'm not saying that I'm not, and I still catch myself being critical from time to time. But Ben's master once wrote in an article, The Need for Unity. And one of the lines that really popped out of the page to me when I read it was, he said, nothing so pierces the veil of unity like criticism. So when you become critical of somebody, you're not seeing life as it truly is, which is that we are one, right? So anyway, and that all stems from the false belief that we're separate. But you are so kind for your kind words, Ms. Poppy, and I hope you have a great holiday season. All right, next, let's go to, is it Anthony? Anthony asked, since we are, is it triune in nature, meaning three parts in nature, gross, subtle, mental bodies, consciousness, really? I don't know how to pronounce that word, so I just looked it up to see what it meant because I had never heard that word before. Thank you for teaching me a new word, Anthony. So since we are triune in nature, gross, subtle, and mental bodies, consciousness really, is it simply just a matter of misapplication of consciousness that veils the experience of Maitreya? That would be a question for Ben, to be honest with you. I'll try to answer it as best I can, but I'm not going to say that this is the right answer. But it really boils down to intuition and our perception and how we see things. Okay, so if your intuition is flowing, and especially if you're aware of that Maitreya exists, right, I guess would be another key to it. That's why knowing this information and just knowing this information is so helpful, believe it or not. You might come across Maitreya or see him on TV or see him in the media some kind of way, or eventually when we all know who he is, you'll recognize him and all that kind of stuff as being somewhat spiritually, minded in nature, and I'm using that sarcastically, right? But you'd recognize what he's saying is true, I guess is a better way of saying it. It's really not so much about recognizing Maitreya now that he's entered humanity's life. It's about understanding what he's saying, which he speaks very simply, so we all understand it, but really understanding the meaning and the purpose by why he's saying this. Why is it important that we share? Why is it important that we bring about peace? Why is it? And then when we hear what he has to say, recognizing the truth in what he has to say, because that's what you've wanted. Does that make sense? That would be what would get people to recognize the truth in what he's saying. Again, it's not so much important to recognize Maitreya the man, or him as the master of all the masters, or the world teacher, or the one awaited by all the religions of the world. It's not so much. That's not so much important. Even just his own attitude toward those names, saying that they create nothing but confusion and those kind of things, would lead me to believe that it's really not that important. But to recognize the truth in what he's saying is vitally important. To want for the world what he wants for the world is vitally important. And that would really depend on where you find yourself on the ladder of evolution. So if you are one who's starting to perhaps come in contact with their own soul through service or through meditation, of course, it would be easier to recognize the truth in what he's saying than it would be for somebody who didn't. And then the other thing, too, would be how glamour the individual is. So glamour is an illusion that we all suffer from, that the masters will be teaching us at great length about, the need to overcome illusion and to overcome glamour and those kind of things, because it's causes all the problems in the world. And glamour stems from the the belief that you are separate. Anytime you believe yourself to be separate, if you're critical, that's glamour, those kind of things. So if you listen to a lot of Ben's talks, he talks about glamour a lot. And it's quite painful to listen to because you recognize yourself in what he's saying. And by yourself, I mean myself too. So it was painful for me to listen to what he had to say because I could hear what I could see me in what he was saying. The way that I viewed life and how false it is based on my own glamours. And it's not easy to do. But so many people live so comfortably in their own glamour, they don't even realize that that's not how we're supposed to be seeing life. Does that make sense? So if you suffer from a lot of glamour, it might be quite difficult to see Maitreya, especially at this stage of the game. It might be easier a few years down the road after he's out known for who he is. We've seen the changes and those kind of things. Perhaps it might be easier to trust him in that way and trust what he has to say. But it's I think the real job, if I have to use this word, for those people who believe this information on whatever level they believe, is to start letting people know now about the need for peace, the need for justice, and how sharing is important. What would sharing look like? Hopefully start to address some of the concerns that people have, the same concerns that come my way when I talk about sharing. Oh, that's communism, or that's socialism, that's evil, that's, all this stuff that people like to throw out because they're just regurgitating what they're used to hearing. They're not even thinking about really what's important and what's beneficial to them. Does that make sense? They're just regurgitating the same old talking points that they've been hearing their whole life, and you can do a great service to the world by just, starting to maybe educate people a little bit about the importance of sharing if you see that it's important to do. So after you do your research, if you take it a next step and you start checking out some of the information on Share International's site, maybe checking some videos of Benjamin Creme, listening to him talk about the principle of sharing, those kind of things, maybe even buy one of his books and read it that way or whatever, read one of the master's articles or whatever it happens to be, you can have better legs to stand on when it comes to people's concerns about this information. And by talking about it also too, you help people to maybe make it easier for them to recognize the truth in what Maitreya is saying. Does that all make sense? So it doesn't sound like it was a diatribe of verbal diarrhea, does it? I mean, I was trying to tie it into this information. But that's what I would say would probably be really key. Intuition and how glamored or not the person is. But we all suffer from glamour. I do too, so I was able to recognize Maitreya through all my glamours, so what caused me to see it in him was probably more of, I want for the world what he wants for the world. So the times that he said things to me like, you'll see me on TV real soon and we'll change the world together. That's something that I want. He might have said, if he had said that to somebody else, they might not have picked up on the fact that that's Maitreya. Does that make sense? So hopefully I didn't just confuse matters even more, Anthony, but it was a really good question. But I said it would be a question for Ben more than me. But thank you very much for the question, nonetheless. All right. Real is told school. All right. Reap what you sow, not reap what someone else has sown. Okay. Well, I think what they're talking about is in several of my videos, I talk about the karma of nations. So karma, when Jesus said, what you sow, so shall you reap. Okay. According to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, that was actually Maitreya giving probably the basic of basic teachings about a universal law that governs all of life. And he broke it down to the very essence of the truth of that law, which is what you sow, so shall you reap. Couldn't be simpler. In fact, it's so simple the way that Jesus put it, it's missed by most Christians as a fundamental truth. They don't even see the connection between that and karma. So most people that are Christian don't even believe karma exists, even though Jesus mentioned it in their own texts. You know what I mean? That's how simple it is. But he broke it down to the very essence of really what it is. But it doesn't mean that there isn't more to it than that. Of course, when Maitreya talks to all of humanity, he's going to be talking about this universal truth of the law of cause and effect, how to live within that law, how to live harmlessly within that law. See, Jesus didn't go into all these other distinctions of that law, like in terms of, it's not even just what you do, it's also what you say, it's even what you think. All those things. That's why honesty of mind is so important. Have what you say, have what you think, what you say, and what you do all match up. So then you can actually see if you are harming somebody. Most people don't even think that their thoughts harm anybody. But anytime you have violent thoughts towards somebody that pisses you off, it actually creates karma comes back to you. But there's a lot more to it than just what Jesus said. He just got the ball rolling. Maitreya will be teaching a much more educated world about what this means, what this universal law really means. So there's, of course, karma for the individual, right? And that's everybody. And then the more harm you put out, the more harm comes back to you. It also coincides and works parallel with the other universal law, the law of rebirth. So you don't have to work off all your karma in this lifetime. You got other lifetimes you got to work it off. So the things that happen in our life, for good or for ill, based on our own karma, all might not be coming from this life. They might be coming from 10 lifetimes ago. I don't know. That would be something that a master could see, but a person such as myself wouldn't be able to pick up on. But there's also other karmas. There's group karma. There's national karma. There's racial karma. And then, of course, there's world karma. So when it comes to someone who thinks that, well, it's just what I sow is what I reap. Well, yeah, there's truth to that, but that's not the end all and be all of the story. So we're all connected. There is no breaking. There's no separation between me and you. You know what I mean? From the master's point of view, when they see all of humanity, they see us as one humanity. Now, of course, they know that each one of us are individual sparks of that one humanity, but we are one humanity. And something as simple as polluted air making people sick is a world karma. And so when you're in a city that has a natural disaster like Katrina or an earthquake or something to that effect, that's not necessarily somebody's individual karma. It's karma for that nation, perhaps, or a group karma, perhaps, or whatever. It just would depend. But nations create karma for themselves. The leaders that we vote into office, all the stupid decisions that they make that cause harm to other nations and to ourselves, come back to their people. And when we realize that, we won't elect these people that really are not suited for that line of work. Does that make sense? But yeah, it's all connected. All connected. But thank you very much for the comment. Let's see. Had a couple questions that came away from different videos. When will humanity realize that their future depends on sharing? I think that's going to happen, and this is just a guess. We probably won't see it until the day of declaration. There'll be people that will start to listen to Maitreya and hear what he has to say and hear the urgency and sense the urgency of the time. But for most people, it won't really happen until Maitreya creates this vision on the day of declaration for all of humanity, to where we see the two futures that await humanity, depending on whether we do the principle sharing or not. So we'll see whether it's, if we do the principle sharing, we'll see what a future is like. We also see if we don't do the principle sharing and we continue on the way that we're doing, we'll see what that future is like and what awaits humanity in that regard. And when we see both futures and feel it in a very real sense, then we will make the right decision, according to Maitreya. But I think it won't happen really until then. And none of the world leaders on the stage today that I've been able to see are going to be any that are going to really be leading the charge for sharing. It's going to come from the people. And unfortunately, it's not really going to come from the people until Maitreya is the voice of the people. So hopefully that helps. All right, so that kind of goes hand in hand with his next question. With the election turning out the way it turned out in the United States, will that hold up Maitreya's day of declaration? I don't think so, but I don't know. That would be another question for Ben that would be better suited for him, because he could turn around and ask his master, and his master could say that. Anytime things happen that people thought would hold things up, he always said it didn't. In fact, it would be speeding things up. What I think Maitreya is really waiting on before he can really come out and really talk to humanity the way that he wants to, with the urgency that he feels that he needs to talk to humanity, won't really happen until the stock market crashes. And it just hasn't crashed enough to really wake humanity up and bring us to our senses. When that happens, that's when we'll look like, what do we do now? He said it would be like waking up from a dream. But we're really living in a dream world right now. So I don't know if him just laying it all out there for everybody on TV or wherever is really going to do much good at this moment in time. So I think personally that's what's holding us up. I wonder how much longer it has, because Ben's Master said back in 2008, had the stock market then just crashed, it would have been enough to bring Maitreya out more openly. People would recognize him more, would recognize the truth of what he's saying. We would start to wake up to this dream nightmare that we've been living in, this world of injustice and that kind of thing. This world of illnesses based on our pollution and polluting the world and stuff and so forth. But he also said that there was a very strong likelihood that the stock market would correct and go to even higher highs. And if that happened, it would be even worse once it collapsed. That's where we're at. And it's been over 16 years since he said that. It's amazing how much money has flown into the stock market to keep it up. Had we not had the ability to print money the way that we've done as a country and put it into the stock market to cause those prices to go up, perhaps it would have already collapsed. I don't know. I'm not an economist in that way. I don't know. But eventually it will collapse because it's not suited for the coming time when all of humanity will have all the basic necessities of life. And that's really what it amounts to. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. I love you guys. Thank you very much for the questions and the comments, everybody. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I look forward to putting up videos in the very near future. Have a wonderful day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.